Sylvester was furious. My earth shadow attacked again and again, while he stayed on the other side of my shield, fighting that. Again and again he smashed through my earth shadow, growing more enraged with every passing second. You slimy, worthless piece of garbage. You think you're smart? You think you can play with Sylvester Givings? Outwit me? He shouts furiously, kicking through earth shadows one after another. And suddenly, a wicked half grin came across his face. You're wrong, trash. Quickly he raised his arm, and with a sideways slashing motion, a blue string of light across the tip of his fingers, and in a flash of blue light, he was gone. But not for long. That very instant, he appeared right behind me. And now, you're going to pay for it, he shouted as he raised his leg above my head, and with a massive downward axe kick, drove me into the ground like a railroad spike. The ground around me cracked and shattered, pieces hoisted up, bent towards the focal point of the impact. Dust kicked up everywhere, and as the dust cleared, Sylvester just stood there, his foot on top of me, looking down at my crushed body. Ignorant piece of trash. So foolish as to think I wouldn't know a basic teleportation spell? What kind of fool do you take me for? You made a stupid assumption, and you paid for it dearly. Well, trash. I don't suppose you have anything smart to say now. No master strategy, no witty remarks, no brilliant schemes. And in that instant, bright red symbols lit up the ground surrounding him, at least half a dozen of them, before he could think, before he could move, before he could ask why or what. The entire area was racked with fiery explosions, sending dust, bits of earth, some with grass still attached to them, flying everywhere. And Sylvester, right in the center of it. As the smoke and the dust began to clear, I saw Sylvester standing there in the crater, his suit basically burnt to a crisp. He was far from the well-kept gentleman in appearance that he was when this first started. He looked like he had been spit roasted over a fire, coughing and wheezing, barely able to keep on his feet. But how? He said, choking on smoke. Why? How? It doesn't make sense. Well, not from your perspective, I said, as Sylvester looked over to see me, standing just to the right of him, without a scratch on me. And just as suddenly, 3 earth shadows burst forth from the ground, grabbing Sylvester and holding him rock solid in place. But 3? I thought there was only 1, he said, still barely able to breathe. You know, Sylvester, you make a lot of errors. It doesn't really feel like you think things through, like you even have a strategy. You just seem to assume that you're just better, that regardless of what your opponent does, you're gonna win, that you don't actually need to use tactics, like you simply have superior magic, I guess. That's a really bad line of reasoning, and if anything, I'd say it's why you're in the position you're in right now. I'd explain it, but I don't really feel like it. I'm bored of this now. So, I guess this is it. See you in the hereafter, Sylvester, I said, raising my hand and putting my fingers together, a strong red glow beginning to emanate from the center of those fingertips, and building later. It was nice knowing you, I said. Sylvester looked terrified. At this point, I think it's pretty clear. He's got no plans left. It's over. And right when I think he's about to take that last shot, Sylvester screams out, "I surrender!" And suddenly, from my pocket, that blue gem begins to emit a powerful light. Suddenly, the entire area is filled with blue light. It's blinding, and in a flash, suddenly, I find myself right back where I was standing when the entire fight started, and we first used the crystals. Only, looking over at Sylvester, it appeared the damage from the fight didn't magically go away. He was cooked. He sank to his knees, one hand holding on to his chest. I don't know how you did this, but I assure you, this is not over," Sylvester said, eyes trying to burn a hole through me. "You have not seen the last of Sylvester Givings." And with what I can only assume is the very last of whatever magic he had left, he half-heartedly slashed his remaining arm, that same blue light emitting from his fingertips. And in a flash, he was gone. And just like that, my first magical duel came to an end. I sighed deeply. At least that's over. What a complete and utter waste of my time. The only thing I got out of it was a brief extent into knowledge about duels and a whole lot of pain. Other than that, it seems to have been a complete waste. How inconvenient, I said, scratching the top of my head in frustration. "Aw, don't worry, Reginald. You got experience. That can be a valuable thing," I heard Alice say as she approached me, stepping a little closer. "That was quite the little challenge. Honestly, I'm a bit lost myself. I don't really know how you pulled off that win. Don't get me wrong, I knew you were going to win from the beginning. That was never in question. I'm just a little confused as to how. But that usually tends to be the case whenever it comes to me watching you win stuff," Alice said, taking her seat by the tree where we were sitting before, as if nothing at all had happened. "So, you mind filling me in? What happened? How were you able to win that?" I took a deep breath and sat down beside her. Well, actually, it's a little complicated. But if I had to attribute anything to my victory, it would be, I suppose, a well-constructed lie. "A lie? Well, what did you lie about?" "Oh, well, the truth is that the Earth Shadow is nothing to do with any kind of special ability. It's not my construct ability that I made either. Truth be told, it's just a low-level spell that nobody really wants or uses. And not only that, it doesn't actually come back every time you smash it. That was a lie too. In fact, basically everything was a lie. I really started lying the moment I put up that shield. Everything after that was simply a little bit of manipulation, trickery, misdirection, misinformation, things like that. You promise you're going to keep this a secret, right? Just in case I need to use that strategy again, I'd prefer it stay between us." Sure, there's no problem. I'll keep your secret," Alice said, smiling over at me, taking my arm into hers. "Okay, well, I guess I'll start at the beginning. The part about the shield fixing itself over time is actually true, but that's not something I was ever relying on. The truth is, the only reason I really made the shield that big is so I could use the shield itself. Not as a barricade to stop him, but as somewhat of a projection surface. You see, after throwing up the shield, I was basically tapped for energy. No more magic left, almost. But that is the way I planned it. After expending all that energy on the shield, I activated the clockwork combat engine. Do you want to know which temporary construct ability I chose? I chose Magical Generator. It's a pretty simple one that I mixed up. Basically, all it does is take whatever small amounts of energy it needs from you and then amplifies it dramatically, sending it through a process, strengthening it, and then releasing it back into your body. So basically, as long as I'm using it, I effectively don't really have a magical limit as to the amount of energy I have, at least for 1 hour. The ability will fill my energy reserves all the way back up to maximum, no matter how many times I drain it. I just gave off the impression that the ability that I was using was the Earth Shadow, and that it was somehow permanent. It wasn't. It was all simply part of the plan. You see, after putting up the barricade and summoning the Earth Shadow, that gave me the perfect distraction. While Sylvester was busy dealing with the Earth Shadow, he had to take his attention off me, even if it was only for a few seconds at a time. And that gave me all the time I needed. While he was dealing with that, I used a spell, one that allows you to basically project illusions, but it's very limited and only works on the surface of magical apparitions, things that you summon and give form with magical energy. Truthfully, the only reason I made the shield that big was because I needed it to cover a large area. I couldn't have him see what I was doing on the other side. While he was on the other side of the shield, seeing me just standing there talking to him. In actuality, I was very busy. I spent half my time summoning new Earth Shadows to replace the old ones that he smashed. That way I could convince him that the Earth Shadows were just unbreakable, that no matter how many times he broke them, they would just come back. Combine that with the size of the shield to convince him that it was sort of a perfect defense where I could just sit around and be lazy. I knew from the beginning that any caster worth his salt would have some sort of teleportation technique. I mean, that's just basic. But with a convincing enough lie, I was able to get him to play into it. And while he was smashing Earth Shadows, I was busy laying a little bit of a trap with another spell I looked up in the magical index. Basically, it allows you to infuse the ground with large pulses of energy and then activate them at a later point in time, like a landmine. The shield, the Earth Shadows, they were all just smoke and mirrors to keep him busy. The entire point from the very beginning was to make sure that he'd try to show me up, tell him to teleport himself behind the shield and try to attack me directly. And once he did, all I had to do was set off the mines. And that was pretty much it. Game over. Once I was done setting the mines, I just teleported myself to a tree and used a minor illusion to make it look like I was there, still standing behind the shield. And after that, I got to drop the illusion spell that was cast on the shield in the first place. And just wait. And as expected, he fell right into it. It was possible that he might have saw through it, or found a way out of the trap. But luckily for me, it didn't really matter. By the time he stepped foot into the trap, I had already refilled all of my magical reserves. So basically, it just would have meant we had to start the fight over again. I might have had to come up with a new plan, but I wouldn't have had to have started at a disadvantage. And that's really all there is to it.